And we're back, dear viewers, after that amazing report, and moving on to introduce to you our guest for the afternoon tea show. With us, we would like to welcome life coach Hanouf. Mohammed, really happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's amazing to be here.
First of all, we would like to know, what is a life coach exactly?
A life coach technically is someone professionally trained to help you analyze and pinpoint exactly where is the problem, where you feel stuck, if you have a toxic habit, a cycle you'd like to break, a comfort zone you'd like to get out of. A life coach is exactly the person to just work on one-on-one with, behind the scenes, to just get from point A to point B. It's a beautiful experience.
And what's the difference, like the main difference between a therapist versus a life coach?
Life coach and therapist would more likely go deeper, and some therapists would prescribe meds, as if a life coach would be like a personal trainer. You just give them the goal, and then they give you the repetition, what you need to do, where you need to go. Because for some people, bringing up the past and getting into that could just take a longer process, traumatize them further. It doesn't work for everyone. Some people just like to just leave the past behind them and just go straight forward. So life coaches are more suited for that.
It's very interesting to know.
Yeah, and how important is self-knowledge, and how can it be developed? If you would kindly share some tips for our viewers at home.
Oh honey, you can't imagine how important insight on oneself is, because a lot of people live their lives not really knowing what they want to do, who they are, and where they want to be in life. You're just existing on autopilot mode, looking, dressing, eating, feeling like how everyone perceives you to be. Like there's no individuality. Some people reach an old age not even knowing what they really want and not even finding their niche. So life coaching can really help you tap into who you really are as an individual and help you unleash that full force. So it's an amazing experience.
Yes, indeed. And when we're talking about the time when a person actually, for let's say a certain age, they start to break, realizing that I'm not in the right, let's say, position in my work, or I don't like this kind of career. So this is something very challenging in order for them not to break down. Going to a life coach is something very important, and especially when we're talking about how you can actually guide them. Life is so busy, and taking this career is something really, let's say, heavier, to be honest. So what was the reason that made you actually choose that?
Actually, I love what I do, and I was life coach at a point of my life where I was lost. I had it all, but I didn't know how to utilize it. Everything didn't make sense. So I used to go for therapy myself, and I'm not ashamed to admit it and say it, because it's an awareness that I want to show and share with everyone. It's not scary. It's something that is actually niche, and it's for intellectual people to do. So I just, you cannot begin to comprehend how beautiful it is to be in touch with who you are, knowing why you did what you did, being self-forgiven to who and how everyone is around you, and not being intimidated by whatever body shape, hair, size, race you are, just because you're comfortable in your skin. So it's an amazing experience that I wish to help a lot of people do and learn, because it breaks my heart to see so many people look perfect yet have so much insecurities. I would just look at them and go like, there is not even a flaw in you. But the pressure of society, the pressure of their parents, the pressure of, they would look like, they feel ugly, they feel, I've seen girls that are practically anorexic thinking that they're fat and chubby, and it breaks my heart to see how much pressure, just because they think that they're perceived as such, and they actually validate people's opinion that really shouldn't matter. I really believe that everyone, no matter what struggle they're going through, should be left alone until they decide to do something about it. So that's why I want to help people learn how to live and comprehend the true meaning of life.
I think you should love yourself more, your inner self.
Absolutely.
And then in order to love yourself from the inside, you would show the love outside. Especially nowadays, we see there is a lot of life coaches, as you can see.
Definitely.
It's more into maybe trendy. And I'm sure life coach is totally different than a psychologist.
Definitely.
So what's the difference exactly?
Just like there are so many options of personal trainers, just like there are so many options of salons and hairdressers, you also get your serious therapist, your funky therapist, your cool therapist, your one that's into stones, and you have options because to each his own. Just like all you beautiful ladies are each wearing something that is rocking it, the same thing for life coaches. Because I when I tried a lot of life coaches myself, I didn't find myself. It's about creating a connection. And to each session, I always say this to every person that comes in my office and has a consultation: if you're not comfortable, I will personally help you find the right coach. That's how it should be, because it's not a pressure of just catching a client. It's an awareness that I plan to raise.
Don't you struggle basically from some of their clients or people around you when they come, they have some claims or some problems or whatever by themselves?
Not at all. I actually enjoy, because usually, you know the saying that when you tie, do you think a horse can move a wagon? Definitely. It can carry and move a whole wagon. But do you know that if you tie a horse to a chair, it will actually think that it's tied down and it won't even move? And that's how we self-sabotage ourselves, by thinking that we have so many problems. But thank God they're not as big as we perceive them. 80 to 90% of the problems are all in our head, and no matter how much a traumatic experience happens to us, it actually shapes, defines, and guides us through to and shapes us to who we are today. But people just are so stuck in that little box that they think it's such a big deal. Well, it's actually not. The horse can actually move if it wishes to. It's just thinking that it's tied down. It thinks it's immobilized, and that's how we feel. Oh my God, I was divorced. Oh my God, I have self-esteem issues. My body,
So speaking of people, because you're speaking all these opinions that we do hear in our day-to-day lives, especially here in Kuwait. Like, we know how taboo it is to talk about our weaknesses.
Yes.
Like, to admit that we aren't actually perfect in a society that tends to tell us all and treat us all with privilege. So in this type of society, if we want to, for example, approach our family or parents and try and actually open up about some of the mental health issues that we might face here, what would be some tips of how can we approach elders and try to be open with them with what we're going through?
See, the funny thing is that I find it very cute. Elders have this strict mindset, like, I'm sorry, Mom, if you're watching this, whatever the solution, read religious. I try to explain that, yes, religion is very important for each individual, to each his own. But if I break my hand, am I just gonna sit and wait for it to self-heal, or do I visit a doctor? So I try to show them that awareness that these things require actual specified people. It doesn't mean that I don't have faith. It doesn't mean that there's something missing. It could be actually deeper than perceived. It's because parents have it's out of love, I know, but they just perceive that it's unnecessary. They feel that they've done something wrong. Not at all. Sometimes being spoiled too much or having too much could actually lead you into therapy.
Amen. There's actually,
definitely.
I don't know if you've heard of something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It talks about how with humans there's different levels of needs that we meet, and then we upgrade to the next need.
Yes.
And because us Kuwaitis, we're very spoiled. We have survival, we have the bonding of family, we have jobs, and then the final one is actually to do with our feeling fulfilled ourselves. And that's why you can be the richest person ever, but still there's that human need for more.
Oh, definitely. I totally agree with you. So that's why I want to show people, parents, whoever is watching, that if your self needs therapy, it is completely okay. And it's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just like going to a gym. Just how you can accumulate the extra pounds, you can also accumulate extra negative thoughts, extra anxiety, extra unbeneficial thinking patterns that could lead you into self-sabotaging your own happiness. Just see a therapist, talk about it. And I always say, see a therapist. I don't recommend it to do it on a friend, because you do need a professional that's completely detached from you, so that there won't be any suffocation, there won't be any personal issues, there won't be any taunting. You may get, you know how it is.
I think in the past it was more people were let's say not scared, but the use of therapist is hard for them.
I know.
Yani people would think if you're saying
crazy.
I'm going to, yeah, exactly. So I think
Not
by
at
nowadays
all.
it's more easier,
Not at
and
all.
people would see more life coaches.
Just like 30% or maybe like 40% of the gym's occupants are actually ladies with a thin, fit body, and they're going to gyms to maintain. And why not a completely sane, rational person can go to a therapist? You're not crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. You just want to sit and see, how can I unleash my full potential? I want to see what's missing. What can I do? What should I not do? That's like, it should be fun. It should be like a fun visit.
You know, Coach Hanouf, I think my co-hosts Mohammed and Sarah raised some very interesting methods about how it comes to one's developments and needs. And here we would love for our viewers to know and find out, how much time is it necessary for someone to develop and advance themselves for their sake and to have a better future?
Definitely at their own pace. I always say there is no time limit. You put your own pace, you put your own schedule, whatever suits you. If you live on the pressure of, I have to change, I have to do this by 2088, I have to have such and such, I have to lose my attachment issues, you're actually putting a pressure on yourself that's not needed. To grow, you grow with love, you upgrade with love. That's the whole purpose of it. When you go to therapy, you try to reduce the hardships of life and the things that suffocate you in a daily life. We have, so, I mean, you get out of bed, each and every one of us has such a long to-do list, so many expectations, and it doesn't end there. There's the day after that and the day after that. So the whole point is to take a break, to let it go, to just be easy on yourself, embrace your flaws. You don't have to like articulate and pinpoint every single thing and make it into such a big deal, because that's just gonna stunt your growth.
Yes, indeed. And when we're talking about this kind of, let's say, topic or question, which is, or let's say not only just a question, but more of a method. Lots of people nowadays do feel like, I want to talk, but no one is listening. And if I talk to a friend will be, let's say, either judgmental, or she's gonna agree to a point where she sees it's good for her own sake, not for my sake. So when we're talking about going to a therapist and going to a life coach, as you just highlighted, it is more of a same, let's say, more of a field, but it varies when it comes into getting deep and so on. Haven't you ever thought of, let's say, having someone with you, like a therapist, to work together so you could actually identify the kind of cases? Because what we're facing is, maybe I'm not a person who needs a life coach, but I need a therapist. While you, as the life coach, trying to convince me to go to a therapist, here's the conflict starts to happen. Trying to, let's say, convince you, no, I don't need the therapist, but I need a life coach, and that's the conflict. Like, haven't you ever thought maybe of trying to have, let's say, somebody who could actually be there and examine the ones who actually need to go to a therapist?
I totally agree with you, and that's a brilliant idea, but I strongly believe that's an individual choice. I don't like invading a person's personal space or choice. When you go to therapy, it's a conscious choice. You want to, you enjoy to, just like you go for a cup of coffee, you go for a gym, you go for shopping. It's a need that you want to fulfill. So that choice is strictly made by you, the person as an individual. No one can dictate, okay, I'll examine you, but I feel it invades the person's space.
And plus, some of them aren't ready. Like, that's one thing that, especially, for example, with the older generation, in my opinion, there are quite a bit of mental problems, but these generation, they're not ready to embrace it. They're not ready to hear about it.
I think what we need, Gumar, is try to change the name of it. Trying to find, let's say, a new name that would actually encourage people to go to. Because at the beginning, when everyone was talking about life coach, I mean, they were like, this is not a real thing, it won't be useful. But nowadays we can see it is so effective. And I've always said that I do actually need to go and visit a life coach, because I sometimes need to talk about things and I need some guidance when it comes into particular things in life and so on.
See, it's human nature. Whatever is new to us, we're afraid, we don't think it's normal, especially life coaching, because it touches the most sensitive and secretive places in you that
You
maybe
hit the nerve.
yes, you don't even want to face yourself. So
And
I understand why it's attacked or frowned upon or feared of, or I don't want to be analyzed, because it's a person thinks it's intrusive and invasive of their space. They don't want to be analyzed. Some people get uncomfortable if I analyze how you sit, how you talk, your smile, your eyes. Are you ready? Is it a genuine smile or not? It's intimidating. So I don't believe it's a person's right to intrude in a person's personal space.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why the awareness of it, that it's okay, it's something to ask. I want to be. It's ask and you shall receive. It's not compulsory. It's not something you have to do. Once the awareness is out there, then it's as much as the awareness of you have to go to a gym, you have to have your Starbucks.
I think even you can see a life coach or basically talk to a life coach even if you don't have any problems.
Oh, absolutely.
It's fine to just talk with a life coach. Maybe you have problems that you don't know about. Maybe with the life coach you would know more about yourself, your personality. So I think it's something normal and something anyone could do. You shouldn't have any problem with a life coach, and live each moment of what you're feeling at the same time. Like you have a period, just live the moment. If you're
mental
sad,
health is very important, and you're absolutely right. Just like as I told you, there are lots of extremely fit and thin girls that are swarming the gym. You could say you don't need to go to the gym, you're so fit, but it's a more of maintenance, a more of she wants to. It's a choice that she made for her betterment, for her consistency, to just maintain that healthy body, to maintain that healthy mindset. Practice talking to yourself, seeing what you want, talking about issues, or conversing so that the other person can professionally analyze what is in the wrong, in the dark, in the right. You have that one-on-one talk with your therapist, life coach, whatever you choose to go with.
What are your thoughts on meditation, actually? Because I know that that's a recent popular practice for people.
Meditation is like there in a different form or another, in a religious way, in a practitioner way. I feel just sitting alone. For me, it's called sitting alone and breathing correct and taking a break. Some get offended by the form of meditation. I think it's really, really beneficial if you sit alone, if you breathe, if you observe, if you start writing notes, if you just silence your mind. This will help you. It's like turning on your iPhone and off and on again, reigniting the car. Sometimes to just keep up with how life is, you just need to press the reset button, and meditation does that. It's just
it's more of a
breather.
detox, let's say.
Yes, for those who believe in it, because I strongly believe to each his own.
You know, Coach Hanouf, I love what my co-host Sarah mentioned, is that it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or that you need some fixing. No, you could just simply visit a life coach and discover something new. Perhaps you have a hidden talent that you had no idea existed, or it ignites that special, passionate je ne sais quoi within you. And I found her point of view fascinating.
Yes, indeed. And it's very important also to keep in mind that you have to actually have a schedule for yourself. Like keeping an appointment with yourself. Like I need to sit and talk to myself, have, let's say, a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and enjoy that moment by yourself, trying to remember all of the positive things that you have and start to avoid, or let's say, neglect these negative thoughts. Because when you find that time where you actually spend your time with yourself, as you just mentioned, Hanan and Sarah, having the kind of hobby and trying to know yourself more will introduce you to many, of course, and varies information, of course.
Definitely. Yes. I totally agree. It's a beautiful experience, worth trying. But actually, some people don't really go through with it. They just try 3 sessions and then they run away. They freeze. They stop. It scares them. The thing is to continue where you feel resistance, to just push through. That's exactly when and where the change happens. So I encourage everyone scared of it or tried it and didn't like it, either change your coach or try a different method, or just continue when you feel like there's a bit of discomfort, that's exactly when you should stick around.
Indeed. It was really a pleasure having you with us here, Coach Hanouf, and
so
all of us. I'm very sure we're really delighted to have you and gain so many knowledge out of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And of course, dear viewers, we're going to continue the rest of the episode. That was our interview with our guest. To know more about the upcoming segment and report, we're going to head to a journey of success, where we're going to know more about one of these successful women when it comes into the Gulf region, talking about the famous actress Saad Abdallah. So stay tuned with us.